Alright, so we're going to look at a lot of San Francisco minted 1970 pennies in this video. Now here's just a stock image of the 1970 penny, kind of giving you an overview of that. Now first up is a 1970 San Francisco minted Lincoln cent. That is the large date. So there are large date and small date versions of the 1970 penny. So pretty sure I've done a video on large date, small date. If I haven't, I'll go through and definitely do a video of that on the future. I've done so many videos, sometimes I forget which coins I have and haven't covered. But what makes this penny valuable is that it is an error coin. It's got a double Die Outburst. Now here are some examples of doubling on the 1970s to always be on the lookout for. You can see doubling there on the words as well as on the date 1970. So it's pretty clear in those images. And this 1970 large date San Francisco minted Lincoln cent sold for over $1,800. Now here's just another example of the same exact coin. However, it's got a little bit higher grade and it sold for over $2,000. And you can actually see the doubling on this coin here in this image on Liberty and on the phrasing God We Trust. But that's not the only thing about the 1970 penny. There's also a 1970s RPM. So always be searching the S mint mark as well and see if that thing has been repunched. RPM means repunched mint mark for all you guys that are new to coin collecting or just new to coin hunting in general. Just get you a cheap little coin USB microscope and you will be able to search for these types of errors. The RPM and double die will definitely make it valuable. And here's another example of a double Die Outburst large date that sold for over $5,400. Now to show you one that didn't sell for as much, this one here sold for over $400. Next up is a 1970D. Now this has been struck 55% off center. Off center coins, very obvious. You don't need no education on that. If you see anything that's off center, obviously hold on to it. And in some cases, you probably do want to get it graded. However, this penny here only sold for a little over $65. But hey, it's a penny, $65. I probably personally wouldn't get it graded. I would just put it in my collection and keep it. But let's move on to the next coin. Now this was in the 1970s, but it is missing the last part of the date. Now this is a counter blockage taking place here on the obverse of the coin. You can see there on the back's perfectly fine. And like I said, we see that error taking place here on the obverse, the front of the coin. Now this coin here sold for over $170. And so this is a 1971 D, a Denver minted Lincoln cent. And what gives this coin value is that it is an over polished die. So there is no L in the word Liberty. If we zoom in there, we can clearly see that L is faded away. If you look there on the reverse of the coin, it looks totally normal. So make sure you guys are inspecting your coins. Get you a cheap coin microscope. That way you can see these things up close. They're only 15, 20 bucks off Amazon or eBay. And this coin here sold for over $180. Next up is a 1971 Denver minted penny as well. This is a mint error. It is a split before strike mint error. And you can see that taking place most noticeably on the reverse of the coin. Now a lot of people may think that this is just damage, but however it is an error, and that's what gives it a little bit of value. Probably not worth getting graded. Probably costs more to get graded than it would be actually worth, depending on the condition of the coin. So if you find something like this, maybe just find a case to put it in or something. This thing here only sold for about $20. But hey, it's 1 cent, turning it into $20. I think that's pretty good profit. Next up is a 1971 D Lincoln cent. Now this penny is double struck with a rotated in collar. So if we zoom in here to the front of the coin and you go from Lincoln's face and go directly down, you will see another date stamped on there, right there on Lincoln's chest, which is crazy. That's an awesome error. I would love to come across something like this. If we look here on the reverse of the coin, you can see the Lincoln Memorial building going through another building, and E Pluribus Unum is totally faded out on the right hand side. Man, that is really awesome. And that's why this coin here sold for over $150. Moving on to another 1971, we actually gave away some of these for the giveaway at 20,000 subscribers. This is a 1971 off-center penny, and this thing sold for over $40. Now I know I've covered this penny here in a previous video. This is struck on a 10-cent planchet. So what that means is that this penny was struck on a dime planchet. meaning that a dime design was supposed to be on this coin, not a penny design. Of course, that's what's going to give it value, and that's why this thing sold for over $330. Now, this next one is interesting. This is a 1971D penny that is struck on a thick planchet. So I would assume the best way to find an error like this would be to weigh your pennies. Now, this thing here sold for over $115. Also, just a coin to look out for, guys, is the 1971 double die. Here's an image that shows an example of a 1971 double die. You can see doubling taking place on the date and the lettering on the coin. So make sure you guys always watch out for that. Like I said, get you a cheap coin microscope and you guys will be able to find these type of errors. Next up is just a really high graded coin. Probably not going to find something like this in pocket change, but it is very, very, very high grade. The grading scale only goes up to 70. So if you guys are not familiar with that, check out my coin grading video. If you go to my playlist on my channel, you will be able to see a coin collecting playlist or coin tips playlist, and it should be in one of those playlists. So make sure you check that out. That way you don't have to scroll through every single one of my videos. You just go to the playlist, click, bam, and you're there. Now, this coin, believe it or not, sold for over $1,300. So for the 1972 Lincoln penny, now what you really want to look for is the double die outburst. That means that there's doubling taking place on the front of the coin. This is a very well-known coin. A lot of people know to search for 1972 double die outbursts. So we see images here of doubling on the date, on the word liberty, the phrase "in God we trust." So look for doubling on all the letters on the front of the penny as well as on the date. Now, if we look at some 1972 pennies that have that double die outburst, you will see different prices. So for example, this one here is a 1972 double die coin. Now, this one is graded at a mint state 67, so it's a very high grade, which is going to give it a lot more value than a coin that's not in good condition. This penny here, because of its high grade and that double die outburst, sold for over $12,000. Now, if we look at the same exact coin with the same year, the same double die outburst that is graded at an about uncirculated 55, and the coin has been cleaned, which will devalue the coin, this one only sold for $270. But hey, if you can find one of these coin roll hunting pennies, you put it underneath your USB coin microscope, and you sell it for over 200 bucks, that is a pretty good profit in my book. This next one here, same thing, it's not been cleaned. It's a double die outburst 1972 graded about uncirculated 55, and it sold for over $320. And then if we look at a couple more, this one here, same coin, just graded at a mint state 64. It sold for over $490. And then we have another one that's been cleaned as well, and this one here sold for over $270. Now, here's one that's really damaged, and you can see that it's not going to have a high grade, a mint state grade or anything like that, but it did sell for over $200. So watch out for these 1972s. Let's put these underneath the scope and see what we can find. Alright, here it is, guys. 1972 double die outburst. Very nice Lincoln scent. And then here we go. When we open it up, Lincoln Memorial, 1972 Philadelphia Mint, DDO-003 attributor Dustin. I'm going to start with a 1973D, a Denver minted Lincoln scent. Now, this is a mint error, so it's going to give it a little bit of value. It is a uniface reverse. It only weighs 3.05 grams. You can see that error taking place on the reverse of the coin. So if you find something interesting like this, there are many coin collecting Facebook groups out there you can join, post your images on, and get a lot of different collectors' opinions on what coin you may or may not have. Now, this coin here sold for over $80. Next up is another 1973D penny. Now, this is where the obverse was struck through a broken cap die. So obviously you can see that there on the obverse or the front of the coin. And if we go to the reverse, this picture's a little bit blurry, but you can see it there on the reverse of the coin as well. Now, this coin here sold for over $470. Next up is a 1973 penny. Now, this is a broad strike with a partial brockage. Now, it is scratched, the penny is corroded, so it's not in great condition at all. If you have something like this that was in like very good condition, it's obviously going to sell for more, but this penny here sold for just over $20. But like I always say, hey, 1 cent, turn it into $20, not a bad profit. Now here's a very interesting coin. This is a 1973 penny that has an obverse brockage. So it is an error penny, of course, and that is what's going to give it value. This coin here sold for over $220. Also, don't forget about those high graded coins out there. Those go for really big money, and this is graded at a mint state 67, so very, very high grade on the coin grading scale, as it only goes up to 70. If you want more information about that, I got a coin grading video on my channel where you can find it in the playlist on my channel. Now this coin here sold for over $3,700. Next up is one that is similar to what we looked at before. This is a 1973 D Denver minted Lincoln cent. Now this penny has an obverse die break, and that is what's going to give it value. This coin here sold for over $460. Now I really like this next penny. This is a 1973 Lincoln cent. So this penny has the obverse, or the front of the coin, struck through a capped die. Now this almost looks like it could be damaged or corroded, and people would just probably pass it up in pocket change, but this is the type of thing that you definitely want to be looking for in circulation when you're coin roll hunting pennies, or like I said, in your pocket change. You want to look for this type of stuff, set it aside, put your pictures online, get some collectors' opinions, because you might have something that could be worth more than face value. Now if you look at the reverse of the coin, it just looks like a normal penny. There's no error or damage or anything like that on the reverse, and this coin only sold for over $25. But like I said, 1 cent, $25, you really can't beat that, finding something like that in your pocket change. If we look at a graded example by PCGS at a mint state 67 red, this is a 1974 D penny. Now this Lincoln cent has sold for over $475. Now the reason that is sold for that is because of its grade. It has a very high grade. If you're not familiar with coin grading, be sure to go check out my coin grading video on my channel, where I help better explain that process and how that works. Now if we move on to this image here, this is a 1974 Philadelphia minted Lincoln cent. Now this penny is graded by PCGS, again at a mint state 67 red, and it sold for over $2,900. Is an obverse die break error. Now you will see that error taking place there by the word trust, right on top of the word trust on the 1975 penny here. Now that is what people call a cud. So a die break error, a lot of people know that as being called a cud error. So that will give the coin a little bit of value, and that's why this penny sold for a little over $35. Now just to show you an example of a more extreme obverse die break taking place on a 1975 penny, you can see that there on the obverse, the front of the coin. Now this penny here sold for a little over $50. Now we're gonna get more into higher value pennies here in just 1 second. Let's move on to another 1975. This is a Denver minted Lincoln cent. Now this penny was struck 5% off center. You can see that both on the obverse and the reverse of the coin. And this penny here sold for over $50. Next up is another 1975 Denver minted Lincoln cent. Now this has the obverse struck through a capped die. Now this is just like the penny that I found in a coin roll from the bank the other day. If you guys missed that video, be sure to go check it out. It's a few videos back. It's an awesome coin that I found. And this penny here sold for a little over $50 as well. Next up is a 1975 Lincoln penny that was struck on a 10-cent planchet. So struck on a dime coin there. You can see that the whole design doesn't fit there, especially on the reverse. United States of America doesn't all the way fit on that penny. And this penny only weighs 2.3 grams. Now a regular 1975 penny would weigh 3.11 grams. Now this 1975 Lincoln cent sold for a little over $300. Moving on to another error coin here. This is a 1975 Denver minted Lincoln cent that has been triple struck. Obviously you can see the error taking place. Probably not going to find this in a coin roll or circulation. Obviously if someone sees this, they're going to get it out of circulation fairly quickly, but I just want to throw this in there to show you the different types of errors that does happen at the mint. Now this penny here sold for over $160. Next up is another die break error. Now this is a major die break taking place here on the 1975 Denver minted penny. Now you can see that error both on the obverse and the reverse of the coin, and that's why this penny sold for a little over $50. Next up is another off-center error taking place on the 1975 Denver minted penny. Now you can see that error taking place in the image displayed, and that's why this penny here sold for a little over $60. Here's a 1975 no mint mark. That means that it was produced in Philadelphia. It's a very, very high grade. You guys know the coin grading scale only goes up to 70. This is graded at a mint state 67 red. And this 1975 penny sold for over $800. But that's not it. If we take a look at the 1975D at the same exact grade, this penny here sold for over $4,000. $4,000 penny. Hey guys, don't forget to go check out all my other coin and collectible videos on the channel. Until tomorrow, I will see you all in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles, and this is where I disappear.